Testing, testing, one, two, three. Testing, testing, one, two, three. Testing, one, two, three. And I wish there was a way that we could test it. I don't know a way to. Everything is down at all. They should work on the whole box. It could be a box. It could be. It could be.
They said pause. And yes, we paused, but only long enough to gather ourselves. They said rebuild, but what we're doing is more than fixing buildings. We're restoring energy, restoring pride, bringing our schools and our spirits back to life. From the halls that carry our history to the hearts that carry our hope. This is us rising again together. This is what leadership looks like here. Teachers preparing rooms with care, principals greeting families at the door, staff making sure every detail is right because our students deserve our very best. The lights are on, the doors are open, and the future our kids deserve is right in front of us. Every student, every day, together like never before. In every spark of discovery, every note sung, every challenge met, you can see what makes our students shine. Some people say kids have potential, but at St. Louis Public Schools, we see their brilliance right now. The scientist building her first robot, the artist mixing colors until they feel just right. They said pause. And yes, we paused, but only long enough to gather ourselves. They said rebuild, but what we're doing is more than fixing buildings. We're restoring energy, restoring pride, bringing our schools and our spirits back to life. From the halls that carry our history to the hearts that carry our hope. This is us rising again together. This is what leadership looks like here. Teachers preparing rooms with care, principals greeting families at the door, staff making sure every detail is right because our students deserve our very best. The lights are on, the doors are open, and the future our kids deserve is right in front of us. Every student, every day, together like never before. In every spark of discovery, every note sung, every challenge met, you can see what makes our students shine. Some people say kids have potential, but at St. Louis Public Schools, we see their brilliance right now. The scientist building her first robot, the artist mixing colors until they feel just right, the veterinarian caring for man's best friend. They're not waiting for the future, they're creating it in real time. And every step they take, every skill they build, every dream they speak out loud, they do it with teachers, coaches, and families who believe in them just as much as they do. This is what success looks like here. Effort, joy, curiosity, and growth, all shining through our students in everything they do. Every student, every day, together like never before. When our community faces a storm, we don't wait to help, we show up. That's who we are. From staff delivering meals and supplies, to teachers checking in on students' well-being, to counselors helping kids talk through hard days. Support is what we do. And even when the emergency passes, we don't stop. Every day in every school, you'll see adults making sure students feel safe, encouraged, and ready to learn. Families feel it too, through programs like Parent University, workshops that give parents tools and confidence to help their children grow and succeed. This is what community looks like in SLPS. People lifting each other up, standing together, and making sure no one faces challenges alone. Because when one of us rises, all of us rise. Every student, every day, together like never before. They said pause. And yes, we paused, but only long enough to gather ourselves. They said rebuild, but what we're doing is more than fixing buildings. We're restoring energy, restoring pride, bringing our schools and our spirits back to life. From the halls that carry our history to the hearts that carry our hope. This is us rising again together. This is what leadership looks like here. Teachers preparing rooms with care, principals greeting families at the door, staff making sure every detail is right, because our students deserve our very best. The lights are on, the doors are open, and the future our kids deserve is right in front of us. Every student, every day, together like never before. In every spark of discovery, every note sung, every challenge met, you can see what makes our students shine. Some people say kids have potential, but at St. Louis Public Schools, we see their brilliance right now. The scientist building her first robot, the artist mixing colors until they feel just right, the veterinarian caring for man's best friend. They're not waiting for the future, they're creating it in real time. And every step they take, every skill they build, every dream they speak out loud, they do it with teachers, coaches, and families who believe in them just as much as they do. This is what success looks like here: effort, joy, curiosity, and growth, all shining through our students in everything they do. Every student, every day, together like never before. When our community faces a storm, we don't wait to help, we show up. That's who we are. From staff delivering meals and supplies, to teachers checking in on students' well being, to counselors helping kids talk through hard days. Support is what we do. And even when the emergency passes, we don't stop. Every day in every school, you'll see adults making sure students feel safe, encouraged, and ready to learn. Families feel it too, through programs like Parent University, workshops that give parents tools and confidence to help their children grow and succeed. This is what community looks like in SLPS. People lifting each other up, standing together, and making sure no one faces challenges alone. Because when one of us rises, all of us rise. Every student, every day, together like never before. They said pause. And yes, we paused, but only long enough to gather ourselves. They said rebuild, but what we're doing is more than fixing buildings. We're restoring energy, restoring pride, bringing our schools and our spirits back to life. From the halls that carry our history to the hearts that carry our hope. This is us rising again together. This is what leadership looks like here. Teachers preparing rooms with care, principals greeting families at the door, staff making sure every detail is right, because our students deserve our very best. The lights are on, the doors are open, and the future our kids deserve is right in front of us. Every student, every day, together like never before.
I would like to call this evening's monthly work session to order at 6:46 p.m. Ms. Vaughn, roll call, please.
Dr. Harvey,
Present.
Mr. Hikes,
Present.
Ms. Hubbard,
Here.
Ms. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Foster,
Present.
Mr. Marston,
Present.
Dr. Collins Adams. We have a quorum.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting, please?
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Ms. Vaughn?
Dr. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Hikes,
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Marston.
Yes.
Motion approved.
And a couple of motions for the approval of the minutes from our last two meetings, please.
I make a motion to approve our minutes from May 12th, 2026, regular business meeting, and our special board meeting for May 14th, 2026.
Second.
Ms. Vaughn?
Dr. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Height,
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Marston,
Yes.
motion approved.
And we move into the report section. So we have a report on curriculum adoption recommendations.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much. We're going to bring up our wonderful special education team as well as our early childhood team. They'll be presenting today one behind another. There will not be a break. And so Dr. Dino, our chief of schools, will start us off.
Good evening, Vice President Marston, Secretary Foster, members of the board, Dr. Berry, and audience. I'm here tonight along with members from our academics team and 2 school principals to report out on 2 pilots that we held over this school year and their recommendations. Our SLPS values center the work of the academics team. In order for our students to successfully demonstrate these attributes of a Porch-River graduate, we must provide them at the base with a guaranteed and viable curriculum. So we're here tonight to share our curriculum adoption process. An overview, there's a lot more details to it that I can provide, but this is just meant to be like a 30,000-foot view of our adoption process. And to hear from our Executive Director of Special Education, Boyd, Nottingham Principal Long, Gateway Michael Principal Baker, and our Early Childhood Education Director Smith about 2 pilots and recommendations we have for adoption. We'll stop for questions in between each set of presentations. So this visual shows the curriculum adoption process. It is in alignment with our board policy 6140. Before we adopt written curriculum, we have to have board approval. And before that happens, there's lots of steps that come in advance. A need can be identified in many different ways. It could be that we're teaching maybe a new course, and so we need curriculum for a new course. It could be that we're at the end of an adoption cycle, and so it's time to adopt new materials. It could be that we've reviewed our current materials and decided that they are lacking in some capacity, so we want to make a change or add some supplements. There's lots of ways in which we identify a need for new materials. Once a need is identified, then materials are reviewed by staff in the academics division and school-based personnel to determine which of those materials may be piloted. We don't pilot every single material that we review, but we do review them all against Missouri Learning Standards. Once materials are identified, pilot locations are identified, and a pilot can begin. We always endeavor to have materials piloted across the city in many different areas and locations so that we can see how the materials are working with students across the city in lots of different schools. Then the pilot is monitored via fidelity checks. So we go to classrooms and see that the pilot is being implemented the way in which we intend it to, because it's hard to make a recommendation if people are taking materials and just using them in a different way from one school to the next or one classroom to the next. We do teacher surveys and we look at student data where applicable. Once that is reviewed, the team makes a curriculum recommendation via an executive summary that's delivered to the superintendent. And at that point, if the superintendent says, yes, we can bring this to the school board for review and approval, we come to where we are tonight, which is a board presentation about the curricular materials. You will then be asked to vote whether or not to approve each of these at the June meeting. If you do approve them, then the next steps of the process in terms of the implementation come into play. The curriculum is adopted, implementation in terms of purchasing, making sure we have enough professional development, and all of those pieces come into play. And then finally, at the end of 1 year, you all receive a board report about what we've learned and what's going to do moving forward. At our June meeting, you will receive your board reports for a 95% group and our new science materials. And so because we're at the end of that cycle, that's the reports that you will receive at that point in time. This is just a picture. While a picture is worth 1,000 words, it definitely also doesn't share all the level of detail and what goes into this. I want to share too, there's not a defined time for each of these. Different materials have different amounts of time that are needed for adoption for review. I talked earlier at the start that our curriculum adoption cycle can end, which would trigger us to do a new adoption. Next year, we will be adopting new English language arts materials K-12. And so a review process already started this year so that materials can be identified to begin a pilot early on so that a decision can be made early on next year so they can cover more than one school year. And now I will turn it over to Ms. Candace Boyd.
So good evening, everyone. Our conversation today, our ask for you is to consider that we purchase a curriculum, thank you, sorry, that deals with functional skills services, right? So we're going to support our students. As the curriculum that we have right now is just a little bit too high functioning for our kiddos. So the curriculum that we have right now will deal with functional skills. So you're dealing with real life skills, you're dealing with daily skills, in the hopes that when students graduate from our system, they're as independent as possible. Two schools that we're looking at are Gateway Michael, two of our public separates, Gateway Michael School and Nottingham. Gateway Michael is our public separate location where we support pre-K through 8th grade students who have IEPs. So all the students have IEPs, but they also have acute medical needs. The other school is our high school, which is Nottingham, which is our other public separate location. So again, these schools function as sister schools. They have a instructional support facilitator right now that currently supports their instructional needs. But right now, just the curriculum that we have right now across the district, it's just not meeting their needs. Whereas this curriculum here, Everway, will be an option for us to use. These schools provide educational, meaning the public separates, Nottingham and Gateway Michael. They provide educational services to students with moderate to severe disabilities who require comprehensive academic, communication, behavior, and functional support. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Kim Long, who is the principal of Nottingham High School.
Good evening, everyone. So, at the current time, a functional education curriculum is significant for our moderate to severe students. We do not have anything of this magnitude at neither of the public separate buildings. Teachers are pulling from many different resources, trying to piece together these great lessons, making sure they're hitting all the relevant information. Our students need real world experiences, need practice with that so that they are productive once they leave us for adulthood. Instructional practices and progress monitoring is inconsistent between classrooms, and then our students do require an extensive need for supports in academics, communication, behavior, and life skills. So Everway. Everway was piloted at Nottingham and Gateway Michael from February to April, so about 60 days. And we did learn that it wouldn't take teachers as long to plan these lessons, but the pacing, the structure, the organization would be there, which is a significant piece to teachers being able to do what they need to teach students and for our students to achieve at high levels. It is aligned with Missouri learning standards. There are opportunities where differentiated lessons are provided for DLM, and DLM is Dynamic Learning Maps. That's our state systems that's used to assess students in MAP A, the alternative map. It includes embedded assessments, progress monitoring, and data tracking tools that are going to be used from pre-K, so to be used at Gateway Michael, pre-K to 8th grade, and then that data can come over to Nottingham, and we can use it and continue learning for those students, just as it would with any of the other grade levels and our gen ed students with their educational data. So this is a unified pre-K through 12th grade instructional system. It's hybrid, so it's print and digital. This will also allow our parents the opportunity to know what our kids are learning in school, and then how they can help them at home. So these licenses will not only be used at school, but they can also use it at home for homework. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Petra Baker, the principal at Gateway Michael.
Good evening. Okay. The teacher survey feedback. So the teachers said that the lessons were structured, organized, and easy to follow. Like Kim said earlier, it was aligned with the Missouri Learning Standards, the dynamic learning map, and IEP goals. And with the dynamic learning map, like she said, it's for the most severe students with severe cognitive deficits. And within that, the essential elements, they are functional applications of academic concepts for our students. It helps teachers to see what students know and how they are learning over time. So this is something that the teachers, when they started the Everway pilot, this was directly aligned to what we're doing in the classrooms. We also talked about us sharing an academic instructional facilitator. We've been collaborating for the last 2 years with professional development. And with this, in the spring, we learned how to write standard-based IEP goals, and the person that helped us came and did individual sessions with our teachers to make sure that they learned the concept, and we will continue that work in the fall. And all this helps with this pilot. It's better differentiation for varying student needs. It increased student engagement through consistent routines and improved data-driven instruction, progress monitoring, and placement decisions. We've had an opportunity to visit 4 different schools, 2 at the elementary level who were comparable to Gateway Michael, Ackerman and Litzinger, and also New Owner and Northview that were comparative to Nottingham. The teachers and the principals both had positive things to say about Everway. So the recommendation, based on the pilot data, teacher feedback, standards alignment, the recommendation is to adopt this curriculum to address the functional and academic skills for Gateway Michael and Nottingham. Pending board approval, the implementation will begin this summer with professional development, and then we will do full implementation in the fall. We will still have ongoing coaching and PLC collaboration and progress monitoring throughout the process. So the hope is that we are able to receive this curriculum. Any questions?
Questions for our team?
Just for the folks following along at home, I just wanted to point out that the consent agenda items tonight that tie into this presentation are item 5.8 for Everway and item 5.35 for Kickstart. Are there any other questions or comments related to the presentation? Discussion? Ms. Foster?
I had a few questions, and I mean, again, transparently put this on the question catcher, but can you talk us through a little bit more about like the research basis, how you all decided Everway versus the other tool was what you were going to be piloting this year? That's my first question.
Yeah, so the other tool actually was just purchased by Everway, and so they're all one. They're all one now, so it's not really a separate option anymore. That's one piece. But the research base, this team, they talked about having visited the special school district schools. The schools are similar in demographics to our students, the ones they visited, and it was a strongly recommended materials to review. We can get you the research reports that they looked at as part of their review process.
Yeah, and just to be fair, the reason why I'm asking is because when you go to their website, they claim they have a research basis, but all of their research is over 10 years old. And so I just want us to be mindful, I think, just of like the resources that we're using, how we're choosing, how we're determining if a curriculum or any kind of ed tech tool has a research basis in it. But that was one stream question. Mm-hmm. I had a few questions, but they were more related to like comments you said. So if anybody else has questions, please. Before I
Dr. Harvey? All right. Back to Secretary Foster. I'm sorry.
Okay,
With-
well, my question was around when you developed the policy and you went through the experimental portion of it, correct?
So the policy has actually been in place since 1999, and
Okay.
it doesn't lay out these specific steps. These are the steps that the academics team has been using to make sure that they're identifying good materials.
Okay, so I'm always wondering about the parental input as well as the students. So where would that be found? Because I don't know, out of any educational process, I would like to hear what the parents have to say.
We did not survey them as part of these pilots, but we certainly can between now and June 12th.
But between now and June 12th of
Or
this
June
year?
9th, yeah. Like we can reach out to the families of the students who did the pilot.
Oh, okay, so where are we gonna find the results then after that?
We can make sure that, go ahead, Dr. Berry.
I was going to say, yes, ma'am, we can reach out and making sure that we can share those with you. Normally, our parents respond to our surveys within at least 3 to 5 business days. And so we can get those and compile that data. And we can even reach out to, how many classrooms, Dr. Gino, did we pilot?
So we piloted 10 across 2
10.
schools. Yeah,
Across 2 schools.
for this. And then we piloted in 40 when we get to that for early learning.
Thank you. As far as the students, we can certainly talk about what that may look like. A lot of our students were nonverbal. In the classrooms, I was able to see how they were utilizing the resources and actually responding and answering the questions, and they seemed really engaged. But we can see what that would look like to do a survey with some of the students. I know many of them are gone. Are any of them in our summer school program?
Yes.
Okay, so we can probably get that data to you, but it would be after the first week of summer school.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Harvey?
Yeah, thanks. I want to first second Board Member Foster's, because when I looked at it in preparation for the consent agenda and found that it was a single teacher researcher 12 years ago that validated this whole thing in a single district research basis, just not there. If that's the only standard on gold standard, then it's gone by any current standards of academic research. And so that bothered me a bit, and them not explicitly building a case between academic life skills and employability for students who have moderate to severe disabilities. And they just leave that body of research and those outcomes completely off of any of what they say they aim to do. And I would hope that beyond reducing teacher time and prep and unified system, all of which I celebrate, that we also are thinking about employability and economic mobility on the other end for our students that have moderate to severe disabilities. And Everway just leaves that off what they care about in anything they have public in their marketing. And I take issue to that, given that there are gold and platinum standard outcomes for young people who have severe disabilities in the world right now. And there's a lot of money being pumped into making sure that those young folks can thrive in today's economic world. So I just want to name that. The other piece I have a question about is was a comment around teachers not having to prepare as long for lessons, which is solid. I love some data. So I'd love to just know, like, how long were teachers preparing on average? How much time are we saving them? And then, like, how much scaffolding will still be required, and to what degree and in what areas, so that we can understand, like, what is this doing data-wise for the teacher experience?
We can gather that. I don't have it. Do you have the time specifically?
Secretary Foster?
Sorry, I didn't want to cut Dr. Harvey off. Great. You mentioned that the pilot began in February
For these materials.
for
yeah.
these materials and just concluded in April. 60 days. I don't know if I have a question or I'm just like naming that out loud. That doesn't feel typical, but I think overall, like, we just need more data that, like, supports this recommendation, I think. 60 days doesn't feel like a long time to me. February is already a short month. You have spring break in March.
Yeah. Can I build a question?
Please, please.
I love to build a question.
This is discussion. I want everybody to be
Yeah,
around
I
it.
like to build a question, which is like, it feels like the presentation hinges on teacher enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
And I honor it. It is probably not the highest level governance data point, teacher enthusiasm. And so, like, I don't know that we would do 60 days for a new literacy pilot. We did 60 days.
We started in January. Was it October? For the
For
literacy.
the 95%, we did from October through, when we did the supplemental, we did October through the end of February. For the 95%. For the one of the things we learned, and so what we're doing next year for the overall ELA is we are doing a much longer pilot. I will also say that when we work with the various people who want to have us have materials, we do ask that they provide us those materials at no cost, and so sometimes that does limit what they're willing to give us. No, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but it does have an impact sometimes.
Yeah, I can appreciate. Oh, good.
And I was going to ask, as far as data, what additional data points would you be interested in? Because right now we have no curriculum, so I just want to know what additional data points you'd be interested in. So
I would love to, with no curriculum, I would make a number of assumptions. Assumption one, I'm assuming we're measuring something around student skills, so I would love to see student skill A, and then 60 days later, student skill B.
Okay.
I love to see a lesson plan A and a lesson plan B. Like, I think my struggle is the entire thing is teachers feel like they can function better, and that is fine. But ultimately, our fidelity is to students functioning better, and we have no data that indicates that students are doing something robustly better than they did before, other than the fact that teachers feel better. And I struggle with that.
Yeah. Were there no assessments with the?
We do. They're in the some of the assessment data is in the executive summary document itself.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Is there any further discussion about the Everway and Kickstart curricula?
Sorry, my last question, and maybe this is a question for Chief Mitchell, but have we thought, like, does this relate to integrating and focus at all? Other LMSs at the district? Yes, no? Is that of a concern? Do we know the systems will speak to each other?
So students will be able to use the single sign-on to get into this like they would with some of our other systems.
Okay, because I thought somebody mentioned, like, all of the student data from K-8 will also be then transferred when they get to high school.
So I think the idea here is for some of these students as they're tracking their IEP goals, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, as they're tracking their IEP goals over time, because currently it's very like teacher created material dependent, something a student is working on at the end of 8th grade, when they move to Nottingham, it's a rupture. It's not that they don't have access to their old IEPs or to see the progress that they've been making, but within this system, it creates a portfolio that will follow the student, and so you will be able to see what goals they've mastered and at what speed over time.
And that's something that we currently don't have in place.
That is something we don't have in place.
My last question, maybe is a process question for you, Dr. Berry, which is the history and practice of receiving this executive summary has been referenced often, not just in this meeting, but in general. Is there a reason why we can't see that to be able to get comprehensive understandings of these presentations?
There's never a reason. You can get all of those.
That would go a long way.
So I just realized tonight that they weren't attached to the presentation for both of these materials. I thought they were part of what was in Diligent. So I will definitely put them in this Friday's board memo so you can see them, and then we'll gather this data and add to those as well. Yeah, for sure. They're not a secret, and they're not meant to be. I apologize.
My last question. Oh, I'm so sorry. Ish. My last question is the bullet point 3 of the recommendation says coaching, PLC, progress monitoring, with record, et cetera. It's the next step. Like, do we, and I'm really like looking at you all, our school leaders, like, do you feel like you have the resources, the systems, the family investment, all the things for all that to happen with Fidelity in FY27? And or is there something that would prevent us from being able to have a like full assurance that implementation Fidelity is going to be like platinum level? Do you have everything you need to actually pull this off for young people's results and outcomes to be better?
If we're able to get all the parts of the curriculum.
Here, come up and stand on the microphone.
So if I could just give a little bit of history, this is 2026. 2023 was the last time that Gateway Michael School received any points for APR. Our students used to be able to use the district's curriculum with some adaptations and modifications. However, the children that we have now, 10 years ago, we were referring them to the Gateway Hooverville State School. We are now that school. So the children that we had before are totally different from the children that we have now. And so we have been doing the best we could with what we've had access to. So we don't have something that's research-based or whatever that we can use with our children or whatever. So this will help. So the data that we have is, like I think she said, is separated or whatever. What one teacher's doing from the next teacher or whatever. Like I said, we're doing the best we can. But having something that's actually research-based will help us in that process.
Thank you. And you said we get all the parts. Is this all the parts that you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Nope, we will get that information to you soon.
All right. We'll move into the consent agenda portion of the evening.
Oh, no, we have to do the early learning part of the presentation, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. And now I'm going to invite our early childhood director, Linda Smith, to come and share about the pilot for the Kickstart materials. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Dr. Gino, and good evening, everyone. So who we are, Early Learning at SLPS. We serve pre-K students across 125 classrooms in 40 schools with capacity for approximately 2,132 students. To put that scale into K through 12 terms, our pre-K population is roughly equivalent to the number of 11th and 12th graders in SLPS. There we go. So tonight I'm bringing forward a recommendation for a pre-K supplemental literacy adoption. And here's why this is important. Bear with me, I got a lot to say about this part. Project Construct is the core curriculum for our pre-kindergarten program, a high-quality, state-approved, play-based model rooted in developmentally appropriate practice. It's the foundation of early childhood instruction in this district and remains our core curriculum. As social constructivists, we believe children learn through play and interaction with each other. That belief is absolutely critical for our young children with developmental disabilities and our multilingual learners. However, some skills require explicit instruction. Take a ball, for example. Through play, children learn that it bounces or it doesn't. They learn that some are hard, some are soft. They learn it can hurt when one hits you. But they will never learn it's called a ball or that it's a sphere without someone telling them. Similarly, while the brain is hardwired for language, reading has to be taught. Children do not discover that blending sounds together makes a word, or that the letters C-A-T represent sounds that they can blend together to say cat. These require direct, explicit instruction. Play only takes us so far. We've been trying to bridge that gap, both as a system and as individual teachers and schools. Our team has provided Tier 1 and supports across the district, lesson plans written by the early learning team, handwriting workbooks, and sound cards. And our investments have produced incremental gains, but we have reached the limit of what unsystematized supports can do. The chart on the right shows what teachers have been doing on their own to fill the gap. 2/3, 67%, are using YouTube videos daily for literacy instruction. And over 70% are using Teachers Pay Teachers or previously created personal materials once a week or more often. These aren't occasional supplements. They're forming the core of our literacy instruction in pre-K classrooms. Each of these bars represents a teacher recognizing the gap and trying to fill it on their own. As we have seen on walkthroughs, outdated strategies such as Letter of the Week, sight word flashcards, and word walls persist because nothing structured has replaced them. Our 125 classrooms range from buildings with a single pre-K teacher to large early childhood centers. We also have teachers from all backgrounds, and some who brought valuable skills from retail or customer service jobs, and some veteran teachers with more than 20 years experience. Literacy instruction needs to work for all of them, and every one of them needs the same instructional practices. Most importantly, we are a school system, not a system of schools. Research consistently demonstrates that the number of letters a child knows at kindergarten entry is one of the strongest predictors of their reading achievement at 4th and 8th grade. Pre-K is not preparation for school. Pre-K is the foundation of every literacy outcome that follows. That's why this matters. Pre-K is the pathway to Portrait of a Graduate. So, we piloted 5 literacy programs in a stratified design across 50 classrooms in 14 buildings over 6 months. 64% of pilot classrooms were neighborhood schools, 36% were magnet, 68% were located in South City, with 32% north, statistics that match our distribution of students exactly. We evaluated teacher feedback against 3 criteria. 1, time spent preparing for each lesson. 2, continued use after spring break when use became optional. And 3, whether teachers would recommend the program to the board. Kickstart was the only program that performed strongly across all 3 criteria. On the survey, following the question about board recommendation, I asked teachers to defend their decision as if they were writing a social media post to a colleague. A veteran pre-K teacher with early childhood letters, certification, and a high number of multilingual learners wrote, Kickstart is an engaging phonics program that students and teachers love. Students learn needed pre-K skills in a playful way. Teachers will appreciate the easy prep. The recommendation is our current core curriculum plus a 3-component supplemental literacy package designed as a coherent ecosystem. Together, this ecosystem addresses all the components of Scarborough's reading route, the research framework that maps strands needed to become fluent readers. Kickstart Literacy from Teaching Strategies is the anchor of the recommendation, short daily lessons that build foundational literacy skills designed around the science of reading and created specifically for pre-K students. And this is only just a few years old. It addresses phonemic awareness, phonics, and vocabulary in spiral lessons throughout the year. Because of our high mobility rate, that's important because children who miss a few days of school do not fall behind on skills. Additionally, as a standard in our department, the materials feature children across all skin tones in everyday context and learning. Readiness and writing for pre-K is the handwriting component of Learning Without Tears, which is the most widely used handwriting curriculum in U.S. schools and has the strongest reputation among occupational therapists in the field. Reading and writing reinforce each other. When children form letters with their hands, they're strengthening the same neural pathways they'll use to decode these letters when reading. For us, writing is automatic, but it wasn't always that way. When preschoolers write, they have to think about holding the pencil, holding the page, envisioning the letter in their mind, and then making their hand do the work that their mind is telling them to do. So I have a little demo for you. So first you have to decide which hand are you going to write with. That may take some time to figure out. And then you have to figure out how to hold the pencil. Is it like this or like this? We holding it way up here? No, it has to be down here like so. Then the students have to visualize the letter in their mind. So they have to have some kind of memory and be able to hold it in their working memory of what that letter looks like. And then their brain has to tell their hand what to do, and their hand has to have enough motor control to be able to do it. So Now they're ready to write that letter. So if they were writing, for example, a T, then they would start at the top with the hand that they've chosen, holding the pencil the correct way and their other hand on the paper, down, and then they'd lift up, come back over a little bit, and then slide to the left. So as you can see, it's a fragile and complex process. That's why explicit handwriting instruction is so important. Designed specifically for pre-K, as all of these materials are. This program meets children where they are and builds writing skills one step at a time. The Alphabet Sounds teaching tubs from Lakeshore Learning close the only material gap identified by teachers in the Kickstart pilot. These tubs are 26 small bins, each containing miniature objects with the same beginning letter sound. So children pick up an apple, an alligator, an ant while practicing the sound ah. The objects are how children connect concrete experiences to letter sounds. Kickstart instructs teachers to find objects in their classrooms that start with each letter sound. But without district-wide procurement, classrooms would continue to depend on which teacher has the time, budget, resourcefulness, or knowledge to acquire these materials. Exactly the inequity this recommendation is designed to end. Every classroom, every child, the same strong literacy foundation. So I like, as you contemplate your vote over the next 2 weeks, I'd like you to consider this. We're not just buying curriculum, we're investing in literacy as a family legacy across generations, planning for children who aren't even born. The 4-year-olds sitting in our pre-K classrooms this fall will be SLPS graduates in 2040. Parents entrust us with the people they love most, and this is what we owe them.
Thank you. Needed to hear that, so thank you. Are there any questions or comments about the Kickstart curriculum? Dr. Harvey.
Hi.
I'm ready.
Oh, mercy. Sorry, Dr. Berry. So, thank you for the presentation. Great presentation. I appreciate the pilot methodology in particular. It's stronger. I appreciate that. I'm curious around data again. So
Sure.
I saw the 3 criteria being used to assess the recommendation: teacher time, again, optional use, and then what they recommend. So it leaves this open question, right? Like, what did you see, and can we have pre and post data around like letter knowledge, phonemic awareness, kindergarten readiness, whatever things you measure?
Yeah, so we did collect student level data actually, but we've learned a few things from doing this pilot, and everything didn't go the way that we thought it was going to. For example, when we created our assessments for the pilot specifically, we had some yes and no questions, which then led to students to guess. So that created some construct validity with our actual questions. So in certain cases, teachers accounted for that and they marked that students were guessing if they could tell, and in other cases they didn't. So that created problems with the student data specifically. And also, as you know, we can't make causal claims about what happened because like our sample sizes were too small. So we had 10 teachers in each group, and so there were 50 total. There were 5 groups, and then there was a letters trained teacher, a special education teacher, a new teacher, or an ILA, and then the rest veteran teachers in each one. However, we did not have information about how long those had been veteran teachers, so some of them may have been a veteran for 2 or 3 years, and some may have been for 20. And so that created some inequities that we didn't realize until we got to the survey and asked, how long have you been teaching? And then we realized that certain pilot groups had stronger backgrounds in early childhood literacy than others did. So we have the student data. It does show that Kickstart and Heggerty actually were the strongest 2 of the literacy pilots that we did. So I'm happy to share that data. It runs, we did it from September through spring break, with many teachers continuing to do so afterward. We also collected aggregate student data from all teachers, not just pilot teachers, but from everyone across the district on letters, letter sounds, numbers, and some other kindergarten readiness skills. So, like I said, happy to share. there's just a lot of context that goes into the data, and we would have probably changed some things had we known on the back end.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the transparency and vulnerability about changing things. I still would like to see the data. I think it's a critical part for anytime a something comes through, to not have it just feels like a miss. So I would love to see it either way. I think my second question, probably my last, is I'm familiar with teaching strategies. They, whatever, they're great. Kickstart, so new, 2024. I have a default orientation to being an early adopter, but I'm curious how other people reacted to such a new product that doesn't have a lot of validity in the ed market yet.
Yeah, so the good thing, as you said, is that creative curriculum does. And being a newer product, we're sure that it's aligned with the science of reading, which is really important. So in the instruction, we saw teachers using the vocabulary of the science of reading, like using the words fricatives, stops, nasals, and things like that when they're talking with students, and students in preschool using some of that terminology as well. So we were really looking for something that is truly aligned with science of reading and not something that's been around for a while and then just remarket it that way.
Got it. So then, given that plus the previous answer, is there a world where you would want to expand your pilot, validate student data, and then do a full adoption before just a full adoption on invalidated student data?
So potentially, but the issue is that we are using a lot of supplementary resources right now, and so it feels like we're still not doing justice to our students if we're not moving forward with this coherent package, essentially.
Further discussion? All right, it's consent agenda time. So to begin, Executive Assistant Vaughn has an announcement about 4 items that will be removed from the agenda.
Okay, items 5.6, meltwater. Item 5.38, the pre-K supplemental literacy. 5.42, final site. 5.45, robohead. Those items will be omitted from the agenda, and they will come back around at another date, and the 5.38 was a duplicate.
All right, thank you. So now we'll proceed through the consent agenda. We're going to go 10 items at a time with some possible exceptions for thematic grouping. For example, the 3 demolition proposals. Just to start, I wanted to state my belief that the consent agenda should be used for uncontroversial items that are lower cost or grant funded. Because as a board member, having $1 million contracts mixed in with backpack donations on a randomly ordered 86 item consent agenda makes it hard to prioritize my attention. So I'll start with items 5.1 through 5.10. Does anybody have any questions, comments, discussion? 5.1 through 5.10. Ms. Hubbard?
I just want to say 5.1, Growing Green does a great job with those plants. They look amazing. And I just want to say that I'm glad we're keeping them.
All right. Sorry, Ms. Jones?
I also wanted to comment on Growing Green. They take care of the plant life at 801. And I'm really hoping in the future that many of our vendors that we have in the building and throughout the district will take on some of our students and help train them in those areas, because we have so much available property in empty schools that our students and our families could benefit from those skills. And I'd also like to comment on 5.10. And this would be students. We have 125 students, I think, enrolled in the business multimedia programs at Gateway, STEM, Clyde C. Miller, Central VPA, Vashon, etc. And this is a DESI-approved, industry-recognized credential program. And I am so very proud of the district for participating in this and giving our students an opportunity as this. So I kudos to 5.10. That's it.
Dr. Harvey?
Yeah, my comment building on Board Member Jones is I would just love to see in like a 5.10 and in the future when we talk about and use key performance indicators that we actually provide data like numbers and not narrative statements that don't provide a baseline, a growth percentage, a ratio. And so they're not indicators around performing on anything because there's no number to actually evaluate. And so that's going to be my universal comment on every bar when something is related to students is there was almost an 100% missing rate of actual quantitative numbers used. And I struggle to vote on or have a point of view on a thing when, again, our job is students and we don't use data that tells the story of students for 80-something items. And so I just want to raise that about 5.1 to 1.10 and then all the rest that are coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Point well taken. Also, though, if it renewals, if you look on the vendor performance report, we also put it on there, but we have that, we hear it, and we'll make sure we have those KPIs and the data on there.
Just to build a bit on Dr. Harvey's comment, another standard field on the board action reports is the alternatives field. And I think a lot of times the alternative is basically if we don't pay for this, we won't have it. Which, while true, does not, there could be more thought put into thinking about other ways to accomplish a similar goal. Any other comments on 5.1 through 5.10? Okay, we move on to 5.11 through 5.20. Dr. Harvey?
Yeah, I have a few. So for 5.14, around the ratification of the AMS contract, and then well, we think Ed, I have a separate set of questions, but around the ratification of AMS, and then the one I think immediately following, I think it's Career Safe, maybe both, is if I'll start on AMS, like an under forecast by $3.176 million is wild.
And 159% increase.
Yeah, and the only the transparency about the catcher was the explanation was more staff across multiple categories utilized to the tune of $3.1 million. And so my open question still is, and it's going to be so redundant tonight, like what data did we use and what data did we not use to under forecast a $3.1 million gap in staffing? And then following down to my next line of like an 159% increase across multiple categories is a systems error somewhere on humans around like we didn't catch something.
Yeah, I'll jump in a little bit. So with and feel free, Ms. Boyd, if you want to. So what happens is at the end of the year, you look to see what staff you have. And then when you realize that you are using different agencies and you don't have the actual staff in-house, it does add up to be a lot. I think this year maybe was a better year because we come in the past and had to ask the board for ratifications for the current year for upwards to $5 million because the staffing agencies and what we pay to them is so expensive. We would love to have our own in-house staff for everyone, but it's a huge cost. So I do know Ms. Boyd and her team, they were looking at to give projections for various areas. I don't know, Ms. Boyd, if you want to mention what you did around projections, but I do know we were looking at earlier about projections, and based off the projections, we're saying it's going to cost us for what we spent this year, it cost us an additional $3 million based on how much the agencies are going up in their pricing and what staff we do not currently have and we were unable to fill over the last year. The 150, the increase, again, the staffing agencies, they know we need them. I wish there were more agencies we could say, hey, we're not going to pay the cost. But right now, our options are really limited regarding the staff because special education is an area where we have to make sure we're providing those services to our students. But you're right, it is definitely huge.
I mean, I hear that, Dr. Weir. I would just name, like, if I went back to my board and said, hey, some things changed and it's going to cost us $3.1 million. Sorry. Costs went up. They know we need them, et cetera. I hear you. I guess I'm just, it's a large number. And it's a large number that I guess the way I think about budget forecasting is I would much rather vote on a thing that's $6 million and you say, oh, we saved $900,000 versus vote on a number, particularly now that you've named we have precedent, we have always asked to increase. That's actually even more reason why this is ludicrous, which means that we have fiscal data that tells us we always ask for more, which means we're just constantly under budgeting it. That's inconsistent to me.
Yeah, I mean, we've always asked for more in that actual year, and we didn't ask for more in this actual year. This is for next year.
No, this is for
Not,
this.
it's for this
This
year.
one is for this year.
This is for March
It's an
31st.
amendment. You're right. My
Right, so-
apologies.
So that,
Point taken.
Point right. It holds. It holds that we constantly are
Point
asking
taken.
for more.
So to your point, we did forecast differently for our renewals for next year based on our actual costs of this year and the actual rates for the staffing agencies. I'm not sure what metric was used for the initial contracts for this school year, but our renewal contracts for next school year, because you're absolutely right. We should know ahead of time how much we're going to spend, and maybe there's like a 10% variance or something, but not something like this. And so we did, Ms. Boyd and the finance team and the director of nursing services, because those are the majority of these particular ones, we did put forward the renewals, which you all approved, thank you, last time, at the actual rate plus the new rates for next year. So hoping to avoid having to come forward, moving forward with any amendments.
Ms. Hubbard?
I don't know if there's a satisfactory answer to this question, but who profits when the agencies raise their wages? Is the agency? Okay, I saw that one of, I think it was AMN, they're a publicly traded company, and so it would go to shareholders. And I know this is a really big systemic problem, but as a society, we should do something to fix it because it's completely unfair for our children to be served with people who may or may not be come back the next year. It's just not good for children for this to be money in somebody's pocket, which is not anything anyone here in this room can do. But I just wanted to say it out loud.
See, any further discussion on 5.11 through 5.20? All right, we'll move on to 5.21 through 5.30. I'll this is just singing the same song again, really, but on 5.24 for managed care therapy, that's a contract that went up 108% and was misforecast also. Let's see, so any other discussion on 5.21 through 5.30? Dr. Harvey?
Thank you, Dr. Dino. Can you talk a little bit more to 5.29 about the cost is not as critical to me as the understanding the what and the why around these the VR initiative?
Yeah, certainly. So it is a result of what DESE calls a 50-50 grant, where they offer school districts, they will pay for half of something and then we pay for the other half. Sometimes it's different percentages, but they're all called 50-50 to try, because they wanted to trial across the state what this would look like if students were able to use these virtual reality headsets to explore different career options and see how that helps them select different CTE pathways. So this next year would be year 2 for us, only if we receive funding from DESE, which we won't know until July 1st. So that's another piece to this particular one. We do find that the students at Gateway STEM and Clyde C. Miller are finding them enjoyable. It gives them a different way of seeing the different pathways available to them without having to go on a field trip or go see something at a time. And so that's the purpose of these headsets.
Thank you. And this would be going into year 2?
This will be going into year 2.
So that means we should have like baseline data around whether it's yielding its intended outcome, and yet the key performance indicator says baseline will be taken at the beginning of the year. So from year 1, to what degree did it contribute to students selecting something different?
So I can get that specific information for those 2 schools because they used it in their 9th grade classrooms, whether or not which career pathway they chose.
All right. Okay, any other discussion?
I guess it's a process order question, which is like, I guess voting on, discussing it now ahead of DESI's 50-50 is just to get ahead of efficiency? Is that the only reason we're talking about it now?
Yeah, and we also have to come and ask for approval to enter into grants before we do. So that was one of the reasons why we're coming.
Yeah, and so I would say also because there's not another board meeting for action before August, in order to be able to spend those funds and have them here before the school year starts, this is our last opportunity. So it's more of a timing piece in this sense.
Ms. Jones?
And sorry, about 5.24. It's not a ratification, it is a renewal for next year. And so it's one of those ones where we think we did a much better job forecasting how much we're going to spend next year versus what we asked for this year.
I just wanted to make a statement about the VR.
Sorry, just to that point though, for that one, it says that the timeline though is April 28th, 2026 to June 30th, 2026. So that's a renewal for a time period that's only this fiscal year?
Yes. So how does that play? What are we renewing? So we do a contract renewal as well, but this one, asking for the services. So I looked at it, I wasn't going to say anything, and then you came up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So yes, we are requesting additional
this is not
funding
that.
for this one. So that is correct.
Yeah, and
We are.
unfortunately, this is the time of year when all the things come together, both the renewals for next year and a recognition of where we ended up in terms of the costs spent versus what we had anticipated.
Okay. Mr. Jones?
I just wanted to say thank you in terms of the VR program at the schools. I remember when it first came out at a school expo or at the beginning of the school, and the children were very excited about it, and I was excited as well, being an older person, but I appreciate the experiences that they have with those VR headsets. And thank you.
All right. Move on to 5.31 through 5.40. Ms. Hubbard?
Regarding 5.31, does every school that has instruments know that this is available?
So I'm pulling this up. I believe we have them on a cycle for the instruments. Dr. Dino?
So our curriculum specialist, Ms. Nubling, monitors all of the instruments in the district and which ones are in which cycle for repair. And then, of course, sometimes some of them get damaged and it's not on the cycle and they need to get repaired. And so all of the music teachers work through her to make sure that the repairs can happen.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jones?
The question was around 5.34, Rankin dual enrollment, and is 157,000 and some change. But this is for 26 students to attend Rankin. And I want to know who selects those students and what are the qualifications?
I'm going to call Dr. Dino back up. There are a few schools that they are selected from, but she can tell you how they are selected.
Sure. So the total number of students is actually up to 41 because it is 15 juniors and 26 continuing seniors. And so there's up to 41 students. It's students who identify that they want that particular career pathway and the courses that they take. And there is a minimum GPA requirement, and then they go and do that program at Rankin. So they are all trades, but they're student selected. We don't force children to go there if they don't want to.
So the program pays for all the 2 years,
Yes.
and any student can apply in the St. Louis Public School.
Any student in St. Louis Public School who meets the GPA requirements can apply, yes. And the age.
All right, thank you.
And it is not a I think there was a question also, it's not a per student. That is what it costs us to send up to 41 students. And so if we don't send up to 41 students, the cost is the same. So we do work our hardest to make sure that it's full.
So I guess my question is, how long have we had this program? Is this the first portion of it, or?
No, ma'am, it's not. Dr. Henning, 3 years.
So when I attended several graduations, I love that we're talking about the colleges and what have you, but we don't really highlight that aspect of St. Louis Public Schools the way we need to, because there were several students, I heard them say that they were going to trade school. And I know how expensive everything is, and I was kind of sad because I was thinking, that's a big bill coming to somebody. When you're 18, might not seem so bad, but if you're the parent paying for it. So I guess my question is, after they leave Rankin, what's next?
So different students choose different paths. Some go right to work, some continue on in their education. It depends. But if you would like information for what the plans are for this year's graduating seniors, we can certainly get that specifically for you.
So does Rankin, when our students complete this program, do they give us the information, the certification, so that we can, like, if we're saying, hey, we have a student that has a scholarship for this program or that program, that we can also talk about the certifications that they earn through Rankin?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
But I didn't hear any of that during the graduation.
During the graduation ceremonies. Thank you.
Not one time.
Okay.
Mr. Hikes?
How do we advertise for this particular program?
So we start by advertising all of our CTE pathways and options for students during their College and Career Readiness Course 1 in 9th grade. And so all of the students, all 9th graders take that class, and it gives them lots of opportunities to see different things. We are moving to starting to do some of that work in the middle schools next year so that students have more time to think and explore, because to your point, not everyone remembers something they learned in a class just one time. We want to have lots of ways in which we can showcase. We advertise via counselors at school. We have lots of posters up in schools if students are looking at those. But the primary way in which we teach all of our students about all the options available to them are through those College and Career Readiness 1 courses that they currently take as 9th grade, but that we're expanding down to 8th grade.
I hate to say this, but to Mrs. Jones' point, we're missing a very good. You always have the word, I can't get it right now. This is a very good place where we can really highlight the thing, because construction is huge. I mean, for somebody to can leave here with a license and they didn't have to pay for it theoretically, that's awesome. I'm just saying. So we, as a district, we got to do a better job of highlighting this, because you guys don't know what opportunity you're giving these kids. You really don't know the opportunity, and we're not playing to it. I mean, because we got. I'm sorry, we got to do better, because that was, that's why I got on the board for some things like this, and for me to be here 3 years and really didn't know that. Maybe that's on me though. Maybe that's on me, but we have to do a much better job of highlighting this, because if we got 41 students that can go to Rankin and learn electrical or carpentry or auto mechanics or plumbing. You see where I'm going with this? That we must do better. We must do better highlighting this. I'm glad to see it. I'm gonna be honest with you, but we got to do a little better. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess next year, I'm really hoping when I look at the diplomas, or not the diplomas, but look at the program, and I'm going to see all the certifications from the various students. I see like Metro, they'll have scholarship amounts and that kind of thing, but those students are very proud of what they've done. I saw so many tears and so much, excitement in the students' eyes when they came up to the stage. And it reminded me of where I live right now. I live in North St. Louis, right a stone's throw from Goodfellow. And for the last few weeks, I've watched the construction, the paving of Goodfellow all the way down. And I saw one black man. And I live in a black and brown community, and everybody out there, they weren't black and brown, and they were driving nice trucks and doing well, which is wonderful. But a lot of our students were walking the streets, and they didn't have that opportunity because they didn't have that construction training. And if they were able to get that early, God knows the neighborhoods would change so much more quickly. And I'm just really hoping that the city will take note, as well as we will take note when we're spending millions of dollars, that we make sure that we're including our students in that distribution of money. So we need to do a better job and make sure we highlight our students who have worked hard at the dual enrollment programs and what have you.
See, I want to go ahead, Dr. Harvey.
Thank you. I have two. One is 5.33 about St. Louis Community College. And I noticed that the performance indicator is all about our young folks at Vashon. And then there's a comment made that Vashon's the area of focus for the upcoming year, but it's a program that services more schools. I don't know the total number, but more schools than that.
10, I think.
10. So my question is again, data, while they are the focus area, and there is a hope to quote unquote maintain or increase student enrollment for the other schools, I don't know what that means outside of TATA. And so can someone color in what does maintain or increase mean against a baseline? What does it mean at Vashon as the area, as the school that is a focus? All I see is total number of, but not against anything that's happened this year.
Yeah. Again, I'll call Dr. Dino up, but I can tell you maintaining, meaning keeping one in the schools. Vashon right now, although all of them are focus areas, Vashon doesn't have anyone there. So I believe this was added on here to show that Vashon needs to get one, and these are the reasons why. Dr. Dino, is there anything you want to speak to that I'm not seeing appropriately? For Vashon.
Yes, Vashon's baseline is 0, and so it's a high area of focus for us for the upcoming school year.
On that one, and the goal, so total number of, what's the goal? What's the actual quantitative goal from 0 to?
Number of students?
Yeah.
Like 200?
So at Vashon, we would love to see it start from 0 to 5, given the amount of money that we have for this program for next year. But we can get all those metrics for each of the individual schools, as well as the last couple of years, if that would be helpful.
And how many students are going to the Harrison Center? Do you know?
As of spring, there were 0.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And my last word remarks is, so for 5.35, which is the ECE curricula, Dr. You named it a 3-year adoption. I guess I'm trying to, what was not in the presentation that I'm trying to just understand a little bit more is 3-year adoption. What we just heard tonight is year 1 stuff, and then there will be 2 more years of presentations or more things to
The
adopt.
same things the presentation tonight is about adopting the whole piece.
Okay.
The costs decrease with each year. We only buy the letter sound tubs one time, and so that cost won't exist next year. And then the publisher has given us decreased rates for years 2 and 3.
So is the way to understand it is Kickstart is year one, and then
The whole thing is year one.
The
Kickstart.
whole
The
thing.
whole thing is year one, and then costs for year 2 and 3 decrease because the vendor gives us a break for year 2 and 3, and those letter sound tubs that we purchase for year 1, we'll be using them every year, but we don't have to repurchase them every year.
We would have to repurchase them at some point.
At some
And
point, yeah.
what's the normal lifespan of a tub?
And the rest of that would then come under our, instead of our curriculum adoption budget, it would come under our general supplies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Got it. Thanks.
But to answer your question, I'm not sure of the life cycle, but we can certainly find that out.
Not critical.
Okay.
On item 5.33, I want to give my usual shout out to the Early College Academy and Kate O'Keefe. My son graduated earlier this month with a high school diploma and an associate's degree from St. Louis Community College, thanks to the program. So we will now move into consent agenda items 5.41 through 5.50. Any discussion items from 5.41 through 5.50? Ms. Hubbard?
For 5.44, about the STAR tests, my children report to me that the questions remain the same. And so after a while, they know the questions and they know the answers, and it's not measuring anything. I don't know, like that's 4 pieces of data. But if this is the case, something needs to change, or we should measure them in a different way. Because if it's just memorization, we're not testing their learning. And, you know, I have smart children who have, you know, been at 12.9 in reading for a very long time. But that doesn't mean anything in their real life for what they actually read. So just a little bit about that.
Chief Mitchell will come up and tell you how it does change. And personally, I think the scores would be higher if so, but she can certainly let us know.
Yeah, Renaissance STAR is an adaptive test. And so the question, the way they're formatted, looks very similar. There's a lot of vocabulary. It is multiple choice, right? So it is one of the state-approved reading and math assessments. It is by no means ever should be the only reading assessment, right? It doesn't actually measure comprehension. It measures standards that are aligned to specifically like around reading questions, again, text-based questions, vocabulary questions, things like that. It is technically adaptive. What we find with gifted children specifically, especially when you score really high, is the next time you take the test, it starts you there. And so if you're sort of maxing out on the test, again, it can either go up or down. And so if your kiddos are at, you know, like 11th or 12th grade and they're maxing out, that might be some of the reason there's some dissonance. But yes, we would never recommend using STAR reading as a standalone assessment to look at literacy. We would need another literacy component that measures, for example, I'm sorry I said it doesn't measure reading comprehension. It does. What I meant to say is it doesn't measure in-depth like writing and those other literacy skills. So, but we can definitely look at the question banks and talk with STAR about the question banks to make sure that there's plenty of questions. But yeah, we've not heard that, and we don't believe that that is the case, but we can certainly look into it.
I'll ask my kids for more information. But, I mean, y'all know this stuff, so.
All right, should we move on to 5.51 through 5.60? And I'll go ahead and include 5.62 in this batch as well. It's one of the demolition proposals. So we're looking at 5.51 through 5.60 plus 5.62. Let's see,
Can I go ahead and say I need to pull 5.61 because I need to abstain from it?
Yes, Ms. Vaughn, can you move that to items for action on the agenda for our next regular business meeting.
Noted.
I think no additional comments, but just a request to pull 5.52, 5.54, and 5.62.
Yeah, so Ms. Vaughn, those three, again, it's 5.52, 5.54, and 5.62. If those could be placed on items for action for the next meeting so they can be voted on separately. And I'll go ahead and say the demolition proposals for Euclid, Hempstead, and Scullin haven't been presented to the real estate committee yet. The real estate committee is meeting on Thursday. And I guess what I'm struggling with is that I'm not understanding how it makes sense to pay, it was $1.8 million for the Euclid item. At 3 p.m. today, it got changed to 1.4 million. I'm not sure if there was just a mistake in the original bar. But in any case, to pay over $1 million to demolish a historic building that's listed on the National Register when someone has been actively trying to buy it for 3 years to create 27 units of housing. And similarly, with Scullin, of the 17 buildings listed for sale, my understanding is that it's received the most interest from prospective buyers. So I just want to make sure that we exhaust the interest from potential buyers before demolishing a building. Well, okay, we've got some microphones that lit up. Ms. Jones.
I'm really excited about the demolition. I'm not going to tell a story. Look, it's been a long, long time we've gone through Scullins, and so many people have gone in and out of that building, and so many people have told big tales and said that we're going to do this, that we're going to do that. Never did a thing. Came and people from across the street with a charter school, they came in, they did an unauthorized visit, and they said they were interested. Look, we have a lot of interest, but nobody's doing anything. And I think we have the right idea to go ahead and demolish the building. I did a walkthrough years ago, and the building was in really horrible shape, as well as Euclid, after the tornado came through and tore it up even more. Now, all of a sudden, Historic Preservation wants to come and do a tour, and they want to talk. Oh, what? Where you been? Please, go sit down, have a seat, have a lot of seats. Then we have Hempstead. Someone set that on fire, and it's sitting in the neighborhood, and the property around it has gone down. Who wants to live like that? No one, and that's been an eyesore for ages, and no one said a thing. As long as it's sitting right there in the middle of the hood, it's been okay. So no, it's time for it to go. It needs to go. I don't care who said they got $50 million. Where they at? It's just like Baden School, the same thing. We supposedly sold that, and we did, and what have they done? Nothing. Just like usual, they come and let it sit in the black-brown neighborhood and do nothing until they think they can make a dollar off the people that live in the neighborhood. So I'm glad to see them go.
Ms. Hubbard?
Can we get Miss Donna a hard hat and a hammer to be there at every single one?
Dr. Berry?
Yes, so a couple things. I can speak to the 1.8. Originally, that was for another school. We did ask them to pull that off, and it was supposed to be now for Euclid, which is much lower than the 1.8. I believe it's actually the cheapest one that's on there. Again, I concur with Ms. Donna. We have had multiple people ask or say they had money, but there are factors that they have to prove they can actually pay for the building. So it is unfair to sell a building for someone, and then they come and can do nothing with it. And again, we have multiple schools that we did give away for almost nothing, and those buildings are eyesores, and the community comes and asks us, what are you going to do with them? So if there's someone that wants to buy them, if they go through the steps with our broker and show us they have the funds and they can do it, we're more than happy to do so. But if they cannot do that, we are no longer going to sit and let the buildings sit idle in our communities that are wreaking havoc and causing more issues for our community. So I welcome if they have it. If not, we would like to proceed and move forward with the demolition.
I think in the case of Euclid, there's at least one developer who does have the funds, and I've heard from more than one person and from people who aren't related to each other that the district is difficult to work with as for developers to work with. I've also been told there's someone who is willing to pay $1 for the right to demolish Euclid so that they can salvage the building materials, which I think that is going to be presented on Thursday as well. And I think another important thing to note is any sales contract should include a right of reentry with clear milestones. So if we sell the building to someone and they aren't making progress on redeveloping it, then we get the building back and can do what we want with it. Dr. Harvey?
Yeah. My comment, actually, is a question, is around the kind of the moral and sacred process of demolishing a building, particularly because we cannot detach race from architecture in a city like ours. And I'm holding a question around the plans that the district has to memorialize the racial complexity of the buildings before and post demolition. And is the district learning from legacy models like Charleston and Anchorage and others where race has been critically a part of their discriminatory and redlining practices around where school buildings were located, to ensure that we are, yes, demolishing as a practice of blight control, but also demolishing with like the sacred act of recognizing that buildings have always been more than buildings, and the district has an opportunity to actually be a model for sacred demolition than demolition for demolition's sake.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. We actually have we call him our historian, but he's actually over our, what department? Thank you, Social Studies Department. And he is very interested in looking at talking about time capsules. So we are looking at a process of what it looks like to memorialize, have even a ceremony or a whole process, and not just demolishing the building. So yes, it will be a very sacred process. We're gonna invite people, we'll have a whole plan of what it looks like. But yes, a lot of our teachers are they want the building, of course, to go ahead and let's demolish it, but also making sure that we do it with care.
I'll just note also, I haven't personally heard any pushback to demolishing Hempstead. So I think we all have agreement on that one. But I do think there is still buyer interest in both Scullin and Euclid. We are still on items 5.51 through 5.60. We can move on to 5.61 through 5.70. Ms. Hubbard?
Can someone speak to the student code of conduct? Like, is it materially different from last year, or is it about the same? Because the packet's really thick.
It is. I'm going to call Dr. Elsmith and Dr. Dino up. We did go through a process of looking in depth at our student code of conduct, and also adding towards our campaign about attendance, adding that component in there as well.
So this school year, we went through a really significant review of the code of conduct. All departments that touched it in any way reviewed, revised, sent revisions. We also went through layers of legal review to make sure we had the most current, like, statutory connections there. We made significant changes, especially in the discipline section, to clarify things that we'd been hearing both from parents and principals about what was hard to read and understand about the code of conduct, and to make it clear, less oriented on the, I would say, the punitive natures of things and more around like how are we going to support students, especially those who might have multiple infractions in different areas. So it's overall, it was meant to be more easily read by families and understood and more equitably applied across schools. Dr. Smith?
I don't have anything else to add. I think she eloquently described what we did. We did want it to be a clear process. We want to make sure that we fleshed out a lot of the explanations around things that may have caused some concern or some just non-clarity before. So it may be just a little bit thicker, but we're hoping a little bit of extra thickness will allow it to be a little more clear for everybody to understand.
I'm all for clarity. Thank you all so much.
Ms. Jones?
I had questions about 5.69, rehiring Mickey O'Toole. We've had them since 2016, and I thought the objective was to, we had a new general counsel and to take the place of Mickey O'Toole. So I have some concerns about another $1 million contract because we seem to be losing a lot of money through the legal, and this is something we need to take a serious look at. So to continue to pay Mickey O'Toole and any other outside entity without taking a deep dive into legal is, to me, indicates a problem.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I think that was heard last year, so we did do an RFP, a legal RFP, and Micah Tool did come out ahead on the RFP. We do have in-house general counsel. We're also looking to add an associate general counsel, but it is best to also have outside general counsel to support in other areas that may be conflicted in or need additional support for outside general counsel. But yes, ma'am, the last RFP, Micah Tool did win that RFP.
So my question then, if they won it, then when did we put an RFP out? Because I don't recall it, and I was really hoping that we would start looking at maybe women and different minorities to start having the opportunity to join the district as well, because they've been in there a long time. It's long enough.
Yeah, thank you. So a couple things. Micah Tool, I think they were the only ones that applied that actually hit the mark for women, percentage of women in being inside the attorneys, as well as minority businesses. The other ones that I won't say their names, but the ones that did apply did not hit those marks. They were one of the only ones that did not conflict out. We had a few of them that had various conflicts. Maybe one of their clients may have something with the district, so they also hit those marks. I think the second part you asked about getting internal, I will tell you with our attorney Dutch, she has been reaching out to various attorneys just to make connections and to see how they can support us. And there are a few women attorneys that are very interested to see how they can partner with us in working with our current insurance companies, because we have to also make sure that the insurance or the attorneys that we're using can also be utilized and approved through our insurance companies. So there's a lot of layers.
I'm just hoping that we can break it up and redistribute the funds to different agencies. So I know I'm going to be voting no, so that's what I have to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Also on item 5.69, we could hire a small army of in-house lawyers for $1.5 million, but I think that difficulty is trying to find people who want those positions.
And we will still need outside counsel.
Let's see, on item 5.70, we had a very nice surprise, and Dollar General donated a total of $51,625 to Mason School and the teachers there. So I just want to say thank you for that. Any other discussion on 5.61 through 5.70? All right, we'll move on to 5.71 through 5.80. Oh, okay, Ms. Hubbard.
Sorry, this is a dorky one. But 5.72, I did not know that our students at Sumner were involved in a national long-term survey of youth, and that's really cool. And I think what was it? The school got $1,000 for participating. So that's my little nerd heart was very happy to see that.
Any other discussion through 5.80? All right, we'll close it out now with 5.81 through 5.86.
Just a quick.
Go ahead.
It's not a question as much as it is for more of an operational note, as I'm noticing in the section that we've been in particular, a lot of the timeline for implementation are named as 25-26 school year. Almost all of them are actually. So if we can just like make sure they're accurate. So for example, 5.75, 2025 to 2026 school year. I don't want to walk through all of them, but like if you start clicking through that section, you'll see a number of them are listed for this year, and that's inaccurate.
Yeah, come on up, Dr. Haney. Specifically around like UKG.
Yeah, so UKG and SAP are both systems that we are sunsetting. They will be incorporated into the ERP system that we are developing, and they're actually running parallel right now. And so when I was asked to take over payroll, we were looking at potentially trying to sunset some of those things this year. And so yes, we did. There were a number of reasons why those invoices were delayed. They actually probably should have been paid at the very beginning of the year. So those are correct. Those are for this year, and we were trying to explore the possibility of potentially sunsetting those this year, but we weren't able to get the transition done quickly enough. But this will be the last year for those two items, for SAP and for UKG, which was our Kronos system. Yep.
All right. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? Dr. Berry?
Yes, thank you. So, you know, when you do these for years and years and years, you do them as they are asked. And so it'll be great. I cannot wait for our board retreat. But I'm going to get with Ms. Vaughn. And for those things that you were looking for in particular, we would like to know so we can make sure that we get these on there and get these right. And so thank you for pointing those out. But it'll be very helpful. Is there anything that you want to see for sure? Like you mentioned data that you want to see on them, or you mentioned an order you want them to be in. If you tell us, we can make sure it happens.
Thank you. Dr. Harvey?
Yeah, I think one of what I'm experiencing on this one particularly, it's reminding me of a congressional omnibus bill, and that's what's throwing. I just don't know that that's good practice.
Well, we don't have another board.
Fair. I think. Well, we can talk about it. I've seen some experiences where some of these things don't seem to have the same timeline, date, urgency as others, and yet, like a big bill, it's just packed in. And I just don't know that's good practice in general for a public that might want to take a journey of understanding, like, you got $41 million to clear. And like when 80-something things are packed in, it can do a lot to the brain to try to process with fidelity, like what all is moving and happening at one time. And so I just want to name that. Yeah.
Ms. Jones?
Did we do 8.2? I'm not sure.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're about to get there, though. We're going to move on to items for action, starting with item for action 8.1. Can someone please make a motion?
I make a motion to accept item 8.1, the virtual tutoring award acceptance that is with Tessie.
Second.
Discussion?
Just a
Dr. Harvey?
point of clarification. Did you not want to discuss 5.8, the rest of them?
Oh, I think we went through all the way through 5.86, but we can go. Okay. Ms. Jones?
Oh, no, are we at 8.2?
8.1.
Oh.
So discussion on 8.1.
No.
I have a discussion.
Ms. Hubbard?
I'm going to sound like Dr. Harvey here. But do we have metrics that compare? I mean, is it no tutoring versus virtual tutoring versus in-person tutoring? Is there I have to imagine there would be a difference in quality. But do we know how that works? I realize this is a 50-50 with DESI, right? So it's obviously going to be better than nothing, but do we know how much in-person tutoring helps versus online tutoring?
Yeah, I'll let Dr. Gino come up and hopefully our defense. We literally just found out about this through DESI last week.
Yeah,
But
so
yes.
they notified school districts across the state on May 18th that there was an appropriation for school districts that had a certain percentage of students with reading success plans, and St. Louis is one of those. And you must use the funds for live virtual tutoring. That's the only option for them. It's not a 50-50, so we are not putting in any of our own funds for this. We've been appropriated $217,000 if we choose to accept it, and we have to use one of their 10 approved vendors. What they have said is that they will notify us of what the metrics are later. So they haven't told us yet, other than we identify students who are in kindergarten through 5th grade that have reading success plans for this online virtual live tutoring. So as far as if the in-person or online on-demand tutoring is better, regardless of what the research says, these funds are only available to us if we use the online virtual tutoring, and only if we use it through the providers that they have identified.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on 8.1 before we vote? All right, Ms. Vaughn, can you please call for a vote?
Dr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Marston?
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, item for action 8.2. Can someone please make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept total technology advice, provision, and technology. 8.2. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm all jacked up. Excuse me on that one. I make a motion to acceptance of gifts and items donation. 8.2.
Second.
Any discussion on 8.2?
Yes.
Ms.
I've
Jones.
been asking Holly.
Oh, yes, right. We got there.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
kind of excited because I've asked several meetings back about how donations can come to the schools directly. And I remember the visit to Sumner before the tornado, and I remember the library, there were students there, and they were asking about nice, comfortable chairs and for their reading nooks. And I'm really hoping that someone will consider a donation of in kind to Sumner's library. And the second school that I would like someone to consider would be Carlane. Upon visiting them, they always come through. The children, the students are beautiful, but they need new uniforms. They really do. And they need new instruments. And I'm really hoping someone would consider that. It'd probably be about $30,000, which would be a great investment. I've seen the young boys go through the neighborhood and, performing, just walking down the street, and their instruments look very used. So, and I know they're very proud of what they've been doing, so let's show them some care. I guess right now that's all, but, oh, Yateman. How could I forget Yateman? Yateman, they're doing such a wonderful job at the Verizon lab, but they also need some equipment there. So I'm hoping that someone will tap into that. They also need comfortable chairs for their reading nook as well. So consider those three schools when you consider helping our students. And I heard someone say on social media that the police need to come and round the kids up and do this and do that. We have a lot of students that are getting in trouble, but the thing about it is, for me being an older St. Louisan, I see that we have not provided enough support for our students in the street, enough things for them to do. When I want to take my granddaughter somewhere to have fun, I have to take them out of St. Louis City to go find something really fun to do. And so I'm hoping that people will consider helping, reaching out to a student that might not have any adult in their life that is helping them, and to help. There might be a parent that needs some help, a grandparent, or whomever it might be, a foster child that has no one to help them after they're out the foster care system. Reach out and help. Instead of talking about the children, come on, let's do something to help them, because they're really in trouble, and we are as well when we don't help our kids. So that's all. Thank you.
Oh, I was about to call Mr. Hikes, but he turned off his mic. So any further discussion on 8.2? Ms. Vaughn, call for a vote.
Dr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Marston?
Yes.
Motion approved.
And finally, can I get a motion to adjourn to close?
wait. Just for a point, it's not a necessity, but it has become a thing of the board to vote to carry the consent agenda items with the exceptions. So would you guys like to go and make that vote?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion to carry the consent agenda items with the exception of the 4 that Ms. Vaughn listed at the beginning of the meeting, and also with the exception of 5.52, 5.54, and 5.62.
6.1 for me.
And 5.61. Are there any others to be moved to items for action?
No, it was just those 4.
Right, just those 4, right.
Second.
Ms. Vaughn, call for a vote.
Dr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Marston?
Yes.
Motion approved.
And call to adjourn to, can someone make a motion to adjourn to closed session, please?
Make a motion that we adjourn back to closed session at 8:29 p.m.
Second.
Ms. Vaughn, call for a vote.
Dr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Hikes? Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Marston?
Yes.
We are adjourned back to closed session.